Welcome to the debate. Today, we are discussing the rapid evolution of remote online proctoring technology. The systems designed to monitor test candidates when they're taking exams remotely. And the central question before us is this: is the increasing complexity, the sheer technical depth of these monitoring systems, a necessary step to ensure assessment integrity? Or are we frankly locked in an unsustainable tech arms race that ends up sacrificing candidate privacy and well-being? I, for one, believe the sophistication is now, it's the minimum investment needed to uphold the credibility of certifications.
That's certainly a critical way to frame it. But I believe we're already past that point of minimum investment. This constant push for ever deeper monitoring, it's creating unnecessary technical hurdles and honestly causing undue stress. And that fundamentally impacts the fairness of the whole remote assessment process.
Okay, I do see the concern around intrusion, I really do. But look, we just have to acknowledge the environment we're operating in. Cheating threats, especially with AI tools popping up everywhere, they're escalating fast. So assessment vendors, they're kind of forced to adopt what I sometimes call a credibility calculus, using multimodal monitoring. That means combining video, audio, device checks, all of it. And this provides, defensible, auditable evidence, things like short video clips, screenshots of potentially suspicious activity. Without these solid audit trails, the value of any certificate we issue is it's immediately compromised.
That's an interesting point, though. I guess I'd frame the cost very differently. This intense focus on security, it results in systems that feel exactly like, invasive surveillance. When we talk about deep proctoring, what we mean are tools that use continuous facial recognition, or they listen for human speech through the microphone, or even detect unauthorized apps by monitoring activity deep within the operating system. That means the system isn't just watching your screen, it's probing the computer's basic functions. To me, that is surveillance, not just integrity assurance.
Right, but the technical complexity, and I agree, some of it is regrettable. It's a direct necessity. It's imposed by these evolving threats. If we were to simplify things, honestly, the integrity of the exam could collapse entirely. Because sophisticated cheaters, they are using things like virtual machines or even, secondary devices. So the proctoring systems have to employ countermeasures like secure lockdown browsers and, yes, sometimes multi-camera support. This layered defense, it's just required to protect the fidelity, the trustworthiness of the outcome.
See, I'm just not convinced that necessity justifies the risk involved here. That level of constant watching, that vigilance, it generates immense anxiety for candidates who are already under, high pressure during an exam. And beyond just the stress factor, we are creating what I'd call a data honeypot. Collecting continuous biometric data, ID scans, screen captures, it creates this massive, centralized risk for personally identifiable information, PII. And the greater the complexity, the more sensitive the data collected, the higher the liability. And the greater the compliance stress under regulations like GDPR. That's a huge burden for institutions. And furthermore, this complexity raises really significant issues of access and equity. The need for specialized equipment like multiple cameras or installing local software, it adds significant technical overhead. Candidates who lack high-speed internet or maybe don't have the latest expensive computer equipment, they can effectively be excluded. This pressure also leads to, inevitably, false positives, where completely innocent actions get flagged as cheating. And that forces candidates into these stressful, often complicated appeals processes. These technical barriers are fundamentally making certification unequal.
I absolutely appreciate the focus on candidate friction. That's crucial. But providers are simultaneously investing heavily in usability precisely to address those concerns. Many platforms are now specifically engineered for low bandwidth operation. And we're seeing a move toward easy, browser-native delivery, which often eliminates the need for those complex installs you mentioned. And crucially, the process isn't purely automated surveillance. That's a key point. The use of AI for flagging suspicious activity is almost universally combined with mandatory human review. So you get this hybrid approach. The AI identifies an anomaly, something unusual, but then a human expert determines the intent, the context, and the fairness. This is designed precisely to reduce those false positives we're worried about. The goal really is an outcome that is not just secure, but fair and fully auditable, confirming the test taker got an equitable shot.
Well, while hybrid systems are certainly preferable to purely automated ones, the fundamental issue for me remains. We are seeing an unsustainable proliferation of highly invasive technology. It feels like it prioritizes surveillance capabilities over the candidate's actual well-being and privacy. And it puts this unnecessary technical strain and stress on test takers who are simply trying to get certified.
Look, the market response, what we're seeing adopted, clearly favors this model of hybrid, AI-augmented human oversight. It seems to be the way forward to maintain security against these new threats. However, that tension, the push and pull between maximizing assessment integrity and minimizing candidate friction, especially for those with limited access or older tech, that remains the critical challenge. It's really defining the future of remote assessment. And clearly, there's more to explore in how these evolving security demands shape the entire learning landscape.